All right, now let's jump right back into it. Pick six, Ravens on the board. It's got to be offensive line. It just has to be. They had an offensive line need before they just lost Osmelly to the Raiders. Osmelly really upped his value when he showed that he could not only play guard, but he could play left tackle. He played right tackle for the Ravens actually in the Super Bowl. Very, 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 very versatile offensive lineman. Osmelly was, and that's why the Raiders snatched him up. But now the Ravens have a huge, huge need on that line, and I think that Ronnie Stanley is the clear pick. Not only, again, it's a need, but think about the injuries that this team is coming back from. Think about the expectations they had going into the season. Similar to the Cowboys, people expected a lot out of the Ravens, but the injury bug hit this team so hard. Brashard Perriman never made it onto the field. Then Suggs goes down. Then Steve Smith Sr. goes down. Then Forsett and Flacco both go down. You'd like to think that this team, having a fully healthy season, can really do some damage. But with Forsett and Flacco coming back from those injuries, you're going to want to make life easier for them and give them as much protection as possible, as good of blockers as you can. Ronnie Stanley, clearly going to be the decision for the Ravens. Now, I will say, though, there's a chance Stanley's gone at 3 to the Chargers. I have Rams there, but if Stanley's gone, the Ravens are going to be in a tough spot here because they need offensive line, and I don't think that they should. I don't know what they'll do here. They do need defensive line help, but they need offensive line desperately to me, and I think that they're going to be praying that Stanley's on the board, and if he is, it has to be the selection. We'll drop it down to pick 7, 49ers. The Chip Kelly era begins. Now, a lot of people, Chip Kelly era begins. A lot of people really liking a quarterback to go here, and I just don't get it. I understand Kaepernick doesn't want to be there, but I don't understand how the 49ers bring Chip Kelly in and then let Kaepernick walk. To me, it makes no sense. When you really think about it, the 49ers should try Kaepernick out. Now, when you think about it, if Kaepernick struggles mightily, the 49ers will probably be picking in this top 10 again, and then maybe they get their hat in the running for Deshaun Watson when he comes out next season. But I still think that Kaepernick has something left in him, and I think that it should be found by Chip Kelly. Chip is finally going to get the quarterback that fits his system, too. The 49ers could actually make drastic improvements if they get the right pieces for Chip's offensive system. But with that being said, a lot of defensive needs. You think back not too long ago when Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman dominated the middle of the field for the 49ers, and they were such a force to be reckoned with. Obviously, Patrick Willis retired, and then we saw Bowman go down with an injury, but Bowman bounces back. Last season, leads the league in tackles, 154 of them. Well, you pair him with Miles Jack, the UCLA linebacker who has a world of versatility, can cover so impressively at the linebacker position, so much so that people say that they could maybe even plug him in at safety. He's that good, and he's got a really good nose for the ball. But when you think about it, when a team's tight end comes out, or even if they had to do a slot receiver, you go with Miles Jack, and he worries about covering the better or the more talented receiver, and Bowman can really focus on filling the gaps and making those tackles. I think that could be a ridiculously good 1-2 punch for the 49ers, and I think that's a great way for the Chip Kelly era to start off. Now we go to the 8, Miami Dolphins. Interesting team. When you really think about it, They go out and they bring in Kiko Alonso and Byron Maxwell. Now Kiko automatically steps right in and plays middle linebacker. They needed a linebacker, and I'm sure that they were kind of hoping that Miles Jack was going to be there, but I never really saw how Jack would fall to 8. I think he's just far too good. So they go out, they get them Kiko, and then they bring in Byron Maxwell. Now logic says Brent Grimes, Byron Maxwell. All right, well now we're secure at linebacker, we're secure at cornerback with those two. No. Byron's brought in because Brent Grimes is going to be getting cut. And I think for that reason, I think that the Dolphins still go with Vernon Hargreaves III, known as the best pure corner, just because Ramsey could play safety or corner, so we're not sure which one he's going to be doing in the NFL, but a lot of people like Hargreaves as the best pure corner. The footwork, the speed, just the ability to find the ball. Hargreaves can step in day one, and what I really like is that he can be your number one corner because Byron Maxwell struggles. Removed from Seattle, his time in Philadelphia was not pretty, and they might the Dolphins want to see if they can put Hargraves on a team's best and then have Byron be responsible for a team's second best. Although I don't know how well that'll work because honestly, I remember that Monday Night Football game, first game of the season, and not only did Julio tear up Byron Maxwell, I mean, that's excusable, it's Julio Jones, but Roddy White, who just got cut by the Falcons, tore up Byron Maxwell. So an interesting decision to bring him in, and I think for that reason that I don't know how much faith I would have in Byron Maxwell. I think you got to go grab another cornerback because they're also going to be cutting Brent Grimes. Vernon Hargraves the third. The Florida kid stays in Florida, goes to the Dolphins. Pick 9, Tampa Bay Bucks. A lot of promise. This team picked number 1, and they played really, really well. I think they made big improvements. Getting rid of Lovie Smith is a questionable decision, but that's a decision that they made. Some people feel like they need to go defense here, but you think about on offense, they're losing Doug Martin. Now, I thought that was a for sure re-signing. I mean, the initial reports were Doug said, "I want to stay here. I love it here," and the Bucs were like, "We love Doug. We want to keep Doug." All of a sudden, can't reach an agreement. Well, I mean, and obviously, you think about it, Doug Martin wanted to be paid for what he did last season. He wanted to be compensated for being the second leading rusher in the NFL, but the inconsistency maybe scared the Bucs away, considering the price tag he was demanding. My thing is, though, if the Bucs aren't willing to pay Doug Martin, I doubt they're going to be willing to pay any of the other running backs on the market. With that being said, they don't need to. Ezekiel Elliott is as good a running back prospect as you're going to see. He's a 3-down back. He can not only come out of the backfield and catch passes, which is only a fraction of it. You have to be able to block, and he can already block better than a handful of these NFL running backs. And for that reason, you put Ezekiel Elliott back there, and he's going to make life so much easier for Jameis Winston. And that's why I love the selection. I think it makes a ton of sense. And again, you think about the core. You have trios, right? The Packers, when it was Eddie Lacy, Jordy Nelson, Aaron Rodgers. You have the Steelers, where it's Big Ben, Le'Veon Bell, Antonio Brown. When the Cowboys were so good, it was DeMarco, Dez, and Romo. You have an up-and-coming one over in Oakland, where it's Derek Carr, Latavius Murray, Amari Cooper. Well, you give me Jameis Winston and Ezekiel Elliott and Mike Evans, that's a really dangerous core of offensive talent. I love the move for the Buccaneers. I think it makes a world of sense for them to bring in Elliott. Rounding out the top 10, the New York Giants, a tough season for the Giants, where it looked like they were going to be able to run away with the NFC East, and late game struggles and headaches and confusing decisions made really ruined their season. They now end up picking within the top 10. But you have to still feel like the Giants aren't far off contending for the NFC East title realistically. You still have Eli, who has thrived in McAdoo's system. You have Odell Beckham, arguably the best receiver in this league. I mean, it's hard to argue with the numbers that this guy puts up. I'm not saying he is the best. For me, he's in my top 3, but the numbers are hard to argue with. The production is obvious. At running back, and I know a lot of people like them getting Elliott, I don't see it. Trust Rashad Jennings, something Tom Coughlin refused to do. Look what Rashad Jennings did Week 17 against the Eagles when he was giving a legitimate amount of carries. 100 yards by halftime. And then you pair him with Shane Vereen out of the backfield, the true pass-catching running back, and that's a wonderful duo that you can have there. And if Victor Cruz comes back, they're going to need him to take a pay cut, and who knows if Cruz will. But if Cruz can come back, then that offense should be in pretty good shape, but the defense obviously just needs so much fixing. Most yards in the league, a lot has to be done there. And it's not just the secondary that has to be fixed, but it's the front seven. Didn't create enough pressure. They just re-signed JPP, and I think they got to go and get Noah Spence to play opposite of him, right? Ayers is gone in free agency, and you bring a guy in Spence. I mean, when the Giants were dominating like they were, you had Justin Tuck and you had JPP, who was that scary DN duo. And again, think about what the Broncos did. DeMarcus Ware, Von Miller. When you can put dangerous edge rushers on both sides of the line, it creates havoc. And Noah Spence could very well be the best edge rusher in this class. I did a video on him a couple weeks back. Go and check that out. Noah Spence is a promising prospect. He could be a top 5 selection if he never got suspended from Ohio State. For that reason, I think he makes a lot of sense for the New York Giants, and I think that he's only part one of the Giants' rebuilding stage for the for next season, because they do have some promise there. But that rounds out the top 10 coming back 11 through 15. But comment down below, who should your team select? If you're picking in that 6 to 10 range, do you agree or disagree? Who do you want your team to grab? What do you think about Elliott going that high? A lot of people have him going in the 20s. So comment that down below. And again, check out the full mock draft on my blog. Link will be in the description. Coming back 11 through 15.